Have you ever been so impacted by something that it leaves no doubt as to what helped shape you? Welcome to the Blind Impact podcast, where we talk about and uncover those moments. Some funny, some sad, and some scary, but it's not always tragic. I hope you'll stay for a while.
My name is Johanna. I'm 24 years old. I've basically been working since I graduated high school.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't really know anything else to say other than I love reading
Ooh.
a lot.
Okay. What's your favorite book?
Oh, my favorite book as of right now
Okay.
would be the Haunting Adeline series.
Okay.
It's a two-book series.
Okay.
It's called A Cat and Mouse debut. Before you read it, read the trigger warnings.
Uh-oh.
Hold on. You're in my Bluetooth. Hold on. Let me turn my Bluetooth off.
Okay.
And see if that works better. Okay, are you still there?
I am. Yes, ma'am.
Can you hear me better now?
I heard you fine the first time. There was no problems here.
Okay. So basically, this book has every kind of trigger warning a book could have.
Uh-oh.
So make sure you read the trigger warnings very well. So that way, if you have some traumatic experiences in your past, that it doesn't trigger you. And if you still want to read it to see if you can handle it, you're more than welcome, but be aware there's a lot of trigger warnings.
Oh my goodness. And this is your favorite series so far. I mean, to date.
Yes, because
Wow.
it has a lot of trigger warnings, but with the way they go about it, to me anyway, it's not as triggering.
Okay. Wow. Can you give me the title of that again?
Haunting Adeline is the name of the first one.
Okay.
And the name of the second one is Hunting Adeline.
Ooh. Okay.
Once you read the first one, you'll understand why the second one is named the way it is.
Okay.
But yeah, I don't want to give too much away.
Okay. Yeah, I appreciate that. You're an avid reader.
Yes, I am.
And this is your favorite so far. So at about what age did you start to love to read?
Oh, I've always loved to read. I probably started reading, I would say middle school. I probably started with Nancy Drew.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So you said Nancy Drew. That's where you first really loved to read, was middle school, and Nancy Drew was your favorite series of books.
Yes.
I think of. Did you ever get a chance to read any of the Boxcar Kids?
Boxcar Kids? No, I didn't.
No Boxcar. Oh, okay. Yeah, those are fun. That's probably well before your time. Well before your time. So okay, so Johanna, what's your story today? What do you want to talk about?
Okay. Um, well, basically, me and my mom work at a convenience store, I will say that.
Okay.
And the way I met my ex is actually through my mom.
Okay.
She,
Your man through your mom.
yes.
Okay.
So I will admit I was in middle school at the time I met him, so we didn't really talk a whole lot.
Okay.
Um, but then probably about 2019, we actually started talking
Okay.
and officially got together.
Mhm.
Um, And it was great. It started off really good. And he was loving, he was caring, he was attentive. Um, we got engaged probably a week before the 1 year mark, October
Okay.
25th. I remember it exactly.
Okay. Engaged 1 week before your 1 year anniversary.
Yes. And it was great. And then, of course, we got married um, at the 1 year mark. And then we found out we were pregnant with our
Okay.
first child.
Okay.
And that's when things started getting interesting.
Uh-oh.
Um, oh, you remember the podcast I told you about? This is the phone call. Sorry, my mom was wondering what was going on.
Oh, no, you're fine.
um, Hello?
Okay. All right. Okay, so you were telling me that you had your first child, and then
Yes.
okay. So then what happens after that?
Okay, so that's when we started running into issues in our relationship.
Okay.
And I'm trying to communicate. I'm trying to figure out a way we can both be on the same page and still involve this person that had a tragedy happen, but not as much as
Okay.
this
Okay.
person actually is.
Oh, oh dear. So how do you go about doing that?
I asked him, I was like, hey, I know this tragedy just happened, and I understand you want to help,
Okay.
but I also just had our first child. So can you come home more
Mhm.
than you go over there to
Mhm.
help me with our newborn?
Yeah.
Because this is my first child. I don't know how to go about this. Yes, I have my mom there and his mom there to help me,
Okay.
but I also wanted my husband's support,
Sure.
and to make memories with him and our newborn as a family.
Mhm.
But that just wasn't happening.
It's just
So
he just unwilling completely.
he was involved a little bit,
Okay.
but not as much as you would think a father would be.
Mhm. Yeah.
He would still play video games while holding our son. He would sometimes help changing the diapers, but I'd be like, "Hey, can you do can you change him while I go do this so that way it gets done?
Mhm.
I understand that it's your day off, but can you help?" You know? And we were also looking for houses because
Okay.
we were having to move.
Okay.
So we find one we that's in our price range, and
Mhm.
we close on it in December.
Okay.
Um, that's also when I find out that I am pregnant with our second child.
Okay. And at this point, how old is your first?
He's 3 months.
Okay. Okay.
Not the best timing, but it happens.
Uh-huh. It does.
Birth control doesn't always work, especially if you're trying to breastfeed.
Mhm.
Um, and so I'm anxious to tell him because he didn't want another child back to back, or at least this close.
Okay.
And so I had to take him food for lunch that day that I had taken the test.
Okay.
And so I told him, I was like, look, and I showed him the test. I was like, I know it's not great timing, but it happens. But I wanted to let you know that this happened. He was like, okay, not the best timing. We're trying to move, but go to the doctor and make an appointment to confirm it, and we'll just go from there. Okay. Not the best reaction, but kind of expected with how things were going.
Okay.
And then January rolls around, and our son, our our oldest, gets sick.
Mm.
And so I take him to the doctor, and thinking it's just strep because it was going around at that time.
Mhm.
And come to find out, no, not strep, not flu. It's COVID.
Ooh.
Okay.
Oh my goodness.
And
Oh.
um so me and my mom try to find at home tests, not finding any because they are
No.
all sold out. So my husband at the time said he would try and locate some when he got off of work. Okay, fine, great. Why don't you come home first and clean up from work, and
Mhm.
then we'll both go and try and find some. And he goes, no, I'll just go directly after work. Come to find out, yeah, he went after work, but instead of coming to get me, he went and got this other person.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
um, so that causes an issue. Try to
Sure.
resolve it. It just ends in fighting. So
Okay.
try and let it go. Mine, my mom's, and his mom's come back positive.
Oh my goodness.
His comes back negative. So
Okay.
he makes the decision on his own that he's going to quarantine at the new house so that way he doesn't get sick and he can still go to work and build a fence around our property for all the dogs that we had at the time.
Oh,
I'm like, okay, fine,
okay.
understandable, no problem. So it's getting close to his birthday.
Mhm.
So me and my mom decide after work, we're going to go get his favorite food and then take it to him and surprise him.
Okay.
And when we get there, he's not there, but his mom is, and she's still sick and can barely do anything. But
Okay.
she's home by herself. But then come to find out that he took this other person and their child to the new house. And it was
Mm.
because, oh, this person is helping me build a fence and watch our child. Okay, that's fine. But why are all three of you in the same room?
Good question.
And it's like, I don't have a problem with you helping somebody, but this is getting to the point where it's crossing too many lines. Because this
Okay.
person was already always at our house after the tragedy happened.
Oh.
And even invited themselves to do Christmas pictures with my grandparents because my grandfather plays Santa.
What?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so this is all transpiring in January. We haven't moved past January.
Oh my goodness.
Towards the end of January, we go back to visit again so I can spend time with our son, because I had gone back to work to try and make more money for the family, because he was griping that he couldn't work because HR hadn't called him back.
Mm-hmm.
And he hadn't gotten all clear. So that weekend, go spend some time there, and then all of a sudden he drops the bomb. I filed for divorce. I'm divorcing you. So, of course, I break down.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because we had already been together. Or in total, we had been together for 5 years.
Okay. Yeah, that's a substantial amount of time, for
And
somebody just to deliver that.
out of nowhere, oh, I'm divorcing you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we have a child together and we're about to have another. And we just closed on a house. And all of a sudden, you're divorcing me? So, of course, I break down in sobs, trying to figure out why. He's like, because I'm tired of the fighting and I just fell out of love with you.
Mm.
I was like, okay. I tried to mention trying counseling first. He's like, it's already too late. I've already filed. So after that, me and my mom end up leaving. And the next day was actually an OB appointment to find out how far along I was.
Okay.
And come to find out, I was 10 weeks along, going to be 11 weeks at the beginning of the next week. So after that, it was about a month before I was officially served. So I only had about a month to find a lawyer before he could just get his way, so to speak.
Okay.
And the
Wow, that's a
divorce.
short time frame.
Yeah. But everybody kept telling me about this great lawyer. And so I went and got her. And then ensues the year and a half tumultuous, toxic divorce.
Mm-hmm.
During this time, I'm still pregnant and in the midst of morning sickness and can barely eat anything because of it.
Mm-hmm.
Granted, it was just nausea, thankfully,
Mm-hmm.
but it was still pretty bad. And then I'm still messaging him, checking up on him, checking up on our oldest child to make sure that everybody's okay, still trying to be the nice person that I am to see if there's any chance of reconciling anything.
Wow.
And he's being cordial and responding and saying, yeah, everything's good. Everybody's doing okay. Everybody's healthy. I'm like, awesome. Fast forward a couple months and I get a phone call 1 o'clock in the morning and it's his mom. Your husband's on the way to the hospital with your oldest. They're seizing.
No.
I don't want to get emotional.
You're okay. You're okay. You're okay.
Come to find out from his mom that he had had a fever of 101.2 off and on for a whole week.
Johanna.
Nobody told me. Not him, not the person that is supposed to be looking out for him at the time he started seizing the day before, not the daycare, not him. Nobody that knew told me until he had started seizing. And I didn't find out until the morning of the next day.
And it was his mom that called you, not him.
Yeah, because he was focusing on getting our son to the hospital, which that I understand.
Okay.
Fine. Do it.
Oh
Get
my
our son to the hospital. That's priority. So I'm like, oh my God, I'm panicking, trying to find a way to get there, let my boss know, hey, I'm not coming in, family emergency. And my mom was like, here, this person can take you, and don't worry about calling our boss. I'll get it handled.
Okay.
I was like, awesome. So I get to the hospital. We try to communicate. That's not really going very well. Our son is trying to sleep, and all of a sudden he'll start jerking a little bit. We finally get into a room. They take vitals, and they're like, okay, well, everything vital wise looks good. He seems like he's a little dehydrated, so we're going to have to do an IV to get him fluids. And we're going to take some blood to see if there's anything in his blood that could be wrong. If that comes back clean, we're going to do an MRI. We're going to try not to do a spinal tap, but if this comes back clear, we're going to have to do a spinal and then get him on the EEG machine. Okay, fine. Do what you need to do just to make sure he's okay.
And he's how old at this point?
I want to say he was 6 months at the time.
Goodness. Okay. Okay. So
7 or 8 months, excuse me.
Okay. Okay, so they're gonna run the test on him, and then what's after that?
All the tests are coming back clean that they're trying to do. They're testing for viruses, they're testing for bacteria, and what they're testing for is all coming back negative. Everything's coming back clean. So they put him on the EEG machine, and that process was horrible the first go round. My husband at the time steps out to do his workout, as he claims, and he's out of the room when they come in to put it on. So since I'm the only one in there, the tech asks me, hey, you're going to hate doing this, but I'm going to need you to hold his arms and legs and try and keep him as still as possible. He's not going to like me putting the glue on him. The glue's going to stink, but I need you to keep him as still as possible while I do this. I was like, okay. That worries me a little bit, but okay, I'll do what I need to do.
Sure.
So I lean on his legs so that way he can't move his legs, and then I grab both of his arms. And as she's applying the glue and to put the leads on his head, he starts screaming bloody murder.
Wow.
Kicking, screaming, scratching at me to try and get me to let go of him. On top of the smell of the glue and getting kicked in the neck.
Yeah.
I'm trying so hard not to get sick while this is happening.
Okay.
And then, of course, towards the end of it, here comes Dad walking in the room, and is able to take over so I can get some fresh air and calm down. So, because I was trying so hard not to bawl.
Right.
The EEGs show he was showing signs of chronic seizures in his sleep.
Oh.
And when he was awake, but they weren't as bad as when he was asleep.
Okay.
So they're trying to find the right medicine to try and calm the seizures down to where basically they're non-existent.
Sure.
And they finally find one, and still they're testing for even more viruses, so they're having to take even more blood, and they have to redo the IV because the other one he ended up pulling out of his hand, so they had to redo it. We ended up staying in the hospital for a week. And during this time, I had really bad allergies on top of the morning sickness that I had. And so I couldn't really eat anything without it coming right back up. And so during the whole week that we were in the hospital, he was trying to get me to leave because I was going to get him and our child sick and other people sick. So I just needed to leave. And it's like, no, I'm not sick. It's allergies and I'm pregnant.
And my son is here in the hospital, so I'm not leaving. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, no.
I'm not leaving. I'm not going to leave until I have answers to what is wrong with our son.
Oh my goodness.
And I basically didn't leave the room for the first couple days.
Okay.
Until one of the nurses was like, if you want to go down to the cafeteria or just to step out and go to the break room that we have for for families to get some air or just walk around and stretch your legs, you can just hit the call button and call one of the nurses and let them know that you need to step out, but nobody's there and you want one of us to sit in with them.
Okay.
Well, that's no problem.
Yeah. But you didn't feel comfortable enough doing that?
No, once they told me that, I was like, oh, okay.
Okay.
That's fine, because my mom was trying to bring me food and clothes and stuff. And I was like, okay, that's great. No problem. And so that's how I spent the last couple days we were in the hospital. Whenever I needed to go get something to eat and I was the only one in the room, I would call one of the nurses in to step in just so I can go long enough for me to go get food that my mom had brought and bring some of it in the room with me and put the rest in the fridge that they had in the little family room. And by the end of our stay, they still hadn't found out what was wrong with our son. The neurologist came in and talked to us about his EEG and saying it was either infancy seizure, something like that. I can't remember the technical term, but basically where kids can randomly start seizing and there's no real cause for it and they'll eventually grow out of it.
Okay.
Or it was a virus that they didn't test for, or they had tested for, but by the time they had tested for it, he was already clear of it. Okay. But because it had gone on for so long, the side effects were the seizures.
So if I can ask you, did they rule out the fact that he was having his fever was high so consecutively? Like, could that not have been a cause?
Yeah, it was a factor, yes.
Okay.
Because if they have a fever for that long, it can cause seizures, and if it goes on for longer, it could have caused brain damage.
Yes.
Thankfully, there was no brain damage.
Okay, thank God.
Yes.
Wow. Okay, so you guys are
Um,
at this point, and they're testing, and still nothing, and you're just they're about to release you guys.
yes.
Okay.
So they're about to release us. They're stating that he needs to be on this amount of this medicine, and if it doesn't work, then there's this rescue medicine for if it goes on longer than 5 minutes. If it goes longer than 30 minutes, you give him this one. And then if that doesn't work, call an ambulance. Granted, the rescue medicine was to help him until an ambulance got here to bring him to the hospital
Okay.
to further give him treatment,
Okay.
basically.
Okay.
And so we're still going through all of that, where he's
Mhm.
still on the medicine. We're still going to neurology and trying to figure out if we can wean him off of the medicine now or if he just has to outgrow the dosage.
Okay.
But fast forward, I want to say 3 months, and we finally get to get to the courthouse to try and settle this and figure something out.
Yeah, because that's still
So,
going on too.
yeah,
Wow.
the divorce is still going on amongst all of this,
Mm-mm.
and we were officially separated.
Okay.
Um, so I can't really say what goes on within the courtroom, of
Right.
course,
Yes, ma'am.
but um, everything's um, basically,
A
no, it
decision.
wasn't. Everything is basically finalized.
Okay.
Divorce is finalized. No, divorce isn't finalized yet. It's just a what would you call it?
Still in the process of.
Yeah, we're still in the process of
Mhm.
um oh, it was custody. That was the
Okay.
custody hearing of our oldest.
Okay.
Okay. Sorry, everything's
No,
blurring together.
you're just fine.
Um so we got all of that taken care of. I have my oldest at this point with me now, and um fast forward 2 months later, I have our second child. And unbeknownst to me, oh, by the way, halfway through pre-op, I get told, oh, by the way, you have COVID. I was like,
Oh, girl.
wow, okay, so I'm asymptomatic to COVID at
Oh
this
my
point.
goodness.
Lovely. So I didn't let my ex come back with me during my C-section. My mom was the one that came back with me,
Okay.
which, of course, set off another argument. But at this point, I was like, okay, it's a good thing he's not with me because that would have started a fight to begin with, because that would have meant he would have had to be out of work
Mm-mm.
again.
No, goodness, no. Not again.
And he doesn't like that because no work, no money, no money
Yeah.
to pay bills and all of that, and
Right.
his gadgets.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I do let him come back to the room after I've had our second child,
Okay.
and let him visit with our child. And then our child starts to get hungry. So I was like, okay, well, I need to feed him.
Mm-hmm.
And he goes, okay, I'll let you feed him and I'm going to go. So he basically only stayed for 10 minutes. And then he left.
What?
And then after that, he didn't come back while I was in the hospital. So I was like, okay. He would ask how he was doing, our oldest, and asked how me and our newborn was doing. Mm-hmm. But other than that, that was basically it.
Okay. So at this point, not only has he's served you with divorce papers. You've got the baby, your firstborn, who's sick and going through an ordeal. Now you yourself have been diagnosed with COVID and just had your second son, and his support seems to be a little bit lacking, huh?
Yes. Okay. I knew it would be since we're not together anymore. But with our second son being born, I thought he would put a little more effort in trying to see his second son. But he was still trying to argue with me about the fact that I let my grandparents watch our oldest.
Okay.
While I was recovering instead of letting our oldest stay with him.
Oh. Okay.
Wow. But what he didn't understand is he took custody of our oldest in the midst at the beginning of our divorce to where I couldn't take custody back once he started the divorcing process.
Okay.
And so, yes, we have paperwork that states that I have custody, but that's not going to stop him from trying to keep. At least that's my thought process.
Yeah.
So I didn't trust it. So I was like, I'm sorry, but my grandparents are going to watch him.
You just repeat that again about your grandparents and the custody part, and then we can wrap it up here.
Okay. So yeah, my grandparents had our oldest, so that way I felt at peace with knowing he was in a safe place and knowing I could always go visit him while I was recovering. Mm-hmm. And he didn't like that, but he dealt with it. I let our oldest meet his brother after we got discharged, of course, taking precaution because still have COVID. And the meeting was so adorable. He came running up to me, wanting me to pick him up and cuddle him, and I couldn't, as much as that breaks my heart. But then he realized that there was this tiny person with us. And he was so intrigued with his little brother's movements, and every time somebody was holding him, he would try and climb in that person's lap to try and get closer. Yeah. And then we did have some instances where he got a little too handy trying to take him out of whoever's lap because he wanted to be the center of attention. But once we kind of told him, hey, you're still loved, you're still important, but this is your brother, this is going to be basically your shadow as he grows.
Okay.
It was kind of like a switch went off in his brain, even though he's, I would say, about How old would you say he was at the time, Mom?
At what time?
When little man was born.
14 and a half months.
14 and a half months.
Okay. So he was able to comprehend enough.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's when you started trying to like grab him and hold him and give him kisses. And so it was just really cute.
Yeah, that's so adorable. Well, I mean, I guess at least the meetup after everything that you had been through was something that had a positive end to it, and to be able to see your kids and have your kids and have them bond like that is amazing. And I know for you it has to be really really good to be able to see that.
Yes. Seeing them grow together and come into their personalities is amazing.
Yeah.
Now, at this point, they're having screaming matches on who can scream the loudest.
Oh, and they're boys too, so it's only gonna get louder and more rambunctious from there.
Oh, trust me, I know. They're both running, trying to talk, throwing things, screaming at each other. It's a whole thing.
whole wild house. So, Johanna, so your oldest son, I'm hoping everything worked out for him after his ordeal.
Yes.
Okay.
So as of right now, where we stand is he has to go in for another EEG to see where we stand, to see if he's still showing any signs of seizure activity that we are not seeing because of the medicine.
Okay.
But
well, that's positive.
Sorry. But the neurologist thinks that the seizures were because of how high his fever was and how long he had it.
Yes.
Yeah. So as long as we don't let his fevers get too high, and if they do, or if he has them off and on for more than a day, to take him in.
Okay.
Because that's not good, and it could restart the seizures even while on the medicine.
Ooh. Okay. Yeah, you have to keep a real close eye on that then.
Yes.
Wow. That's part of parenting, isn't it? I mean, that's just it presents all sorts of just challenges. You have to be able to meet it head on. And it definitely sounds like you're an awesome mom, and you undoubtedly love your kids. And I do hope that things continue to get better for you, and your relationship with your kids continue to grow. And you have support obviously from your mom, and I hope that continues to stick around. And do you feel like, out of everything that you've experienced at this point, do you feel like there's something that you would have wanted to change?
Yes.
Okay.
In a way, yes, but in a way, no, because if I changed anything, I wouldn't be where I am today.
Okay.
Granted, I don't like the hurt. I don't like the heartbreak.
Yeah.
But it's changing me to be the person that I need to be. Is the way I'm looking at it. Yes, people don't like to go through traumatic events, but in my mind, it's shaping us to be who we want to or need to be, excuse me.
Yeah.
And so that way we can help somebody else that's going through it and help them be the better version of themselves that they need to be.
Absolutely. That's perfectly put, Johanna. And I hope, like I said, for continued success. And you've got some resources, so I know that things are going to get better for you. You have to just keep the outlook that you have, and keep those boys close for sure.
Yes, without a doubt.
No doubt. Hey guys, this has been the Blind Impact. Today's guest has been Johanna. And Johanna, I want to thank you once again for coming on. I really appreciate it. It's been awesome to be able to hear your story. You had some highs and lows. highs and
Yes.
lows in there, but it's definitely what's making you. So I do appreciate it, and I wish you nothing but the best. And I'm sure I'll be seeing you soon, Joanna.
Thank you. Thank you
Oh,
for inviting me.
oh, of course. Of course, I had to. Absolutely needed to. I appreciate you for agreeing to do it.
No problem.
All right.
I
I'll
hope
see you
you
soon.
have a wonderful day.
I will. Thank you. You too.
All right, bye.
Okay, bye-bye. Thank you all so much for listening to this episode of The Blind Impact. If you like the show, please rate, subscribe, review, follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Amazon Music. If you have a story you'd like to tell, please email me at theblindImpact@gmail.com. Or if you have a story you'd like to have read here by me, please include those details in the email or the voice message. Thank y'all, and remember, it's not always tragic.